It's the Empowerment Perspective Radio Show, hosted by Demiso Josie, Kareem Spence, and Miss Stacy Sanderson Dick. Stay empowered. Stay empowered.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Stacy Sanderson Dick with the Empowerment Perspective Group. So welcome to our next episode of the radio show. And I have Frankie.
Yes, today it's girls only.
Yes, the boys are not here.
I know Demiso's off getting a new pet.
Yes, not picturing him as a cat type of fella, but...
I know. And today on this Saturday, we're going to be talking about something that is taking society by storm, social media. Everyone you know, whether it's your grandparents, your sons, daughters, kids, everyone, dogs even, are having social media. So we just want to talk a little bit about the ups, the downs, and just what it means in society today.
Yes, and it's very relevant in every way. Like you said, grandparents, my grandmom's on Facebook. She can't always figure it out. You get that phone call like, I logged out, I can't get back in. I didn't like so-and-so's picture. Kids definitely are on it way too much.
Yeah, like I know, as a millennial, I kind of grew up with it, not as much as kids today who are having, Snapchat by the time they're in 5th grade or whatever it is. But I know I started out with a lot of people in my grade had MySpace, instant messaging. I personally wasn't allowed to get onto those things, but once Facebook really came around, I really wanted to get on. I wasn't allowed. My mom didn't think I was responsible enough yet. I was in middle school, so I actually went behind her back and made a secret Facebook.
Oh, boy.
Just to keep up with my classmates. But unfortunately, it was found out. I was foiled, and I wasn't allowed to have it for another year or so till high school. So that's kind of my story, how I got into social media.
I'm guilty, too. I'm on Facebook a lot. Instagram, I'm on there as well. Twitter, I'm lost with Twitter. I cannot figure out Twitter to save my life, so I deleted my account there, and I'm done. I'm too old to figure that one out, I think.
Yeah, so I think each different type of social media has its own purpose, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. They're all kind of different mediums of expression and different ways to spread news, spread information, spread change. And actually later we're going to be talking to a social media editor of a news station, Sarah Smith. She works for NBC 10, and we're going to hear a little bit about how news is related to social media. So I think that'll be interesting.
It's definitely changed how news travels. It's definitely like an all-day, 24-hour, you see people sharing posts from different channels and articles and things that are going on. So it's definitely getting the news out there. Sometimes, though, it's a false narrative.
Yeah, whether it's real or not, that's a different story.
So we'll get into that in a few minutes. So I'll take my shift. It's going to be a little bit of a less petty show today, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll try to keep it a little petty
for
Kareem. But so I've been talking about my shift, and that was my growth and trying to step more into my purpose. So my first step was just start. If you feel like there's something bigger out there for yourself, take that first step. It's not as scary as you think. I also had be mindful. You need to start being aware of your habits that keep you stuck and start changing them. You need to eliminate those false limiting beliefs you have that are maybe put on you by parents, which we don't intend to do, but we do as we're trying to protect our children. Make sure we're grateful for the things that we have, especially with Thanksgiving coming up. I know it's always the easier week to list the things that we're grateful for and our gratitude, but we need to keep that perspective all year round and make sure that we are keeping our attitude very grateful for everything that we have. And for this week, getting into the positive mindset, you really have to start using the proven methods, which some people think are a little hokey, I guess, like the self-help books, the sections of stuff like that, the bookstore, nobody wants to go in there. But you definitely need to start doing the affirmations and saying them out loud. And it does feel corny at first when you're in the mirror saying, I am somebody. But they work. When you start saying them over and over and over again, you start to live as that person. So the affirmations are really important. Visualizing what you want to be, putting that goal in front of you and seeing that tangible goal you have set, that this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be, and seeing that every day. I flipped my page in my notebook. They're going to be mad.
Yes, we brought our notebooks today.
We're allowed to have them today. For an example, with the visualizing, I don't know if you watch basketball.
Yeah.
Do you? Okay.
Basketball fan.
I'm getting there because my kids, but Joel Embiid for the Sixers, he's very vocal about how good of a player he is, and some people says that's a little arrogant. But now realizing this kind of stuff, he's basically just saying he's the player that he wants to be, but he's already living as that player, even though he hasn't gotten the accolade yet. In his mind, it's going to happen. It's a non-issue. He's just not there yet. And I listen to him and I'm like, well, that's kind of what I'm trying to do. and I'm not doing it well. But some people take that as he's arrogant and he's full of himself, where really he's just set a very clear goal for himself, and that's what he's chasing.
Yeah, I think in a lot of things, like I know me personally, sometimes I stand in my own way when it comes to thinking, I don't know if I can do this, I don't know if I'm able to do it. So then that kind of brings me down and kind of does, decide whether I am going to do it. I think I saw a quote that said something like, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Something along those lines, probably a little more eloquent. But so yeah, I think that is a problem today with a lot of people standing in their own way. But I think, yeah, if you if you put that out there, I can do this, I'm going to do it, you say that publicly, then it's kind of like, yeah, I have to follow through and do it now.
Right.
I can do it.
Right, and you put it out there to the universe. It's that law of attraction. What you put out is what you get back. And unfortunately, if you're not happy with where you are, you got to kind of look internally and see, well, what am I putting out there that this is coming back? Mm-hmm. And like you said, I do think we stand in our own way because we're afraid of failure. And Demiso and Kareem have said that thousands of times, that failure, it is an option, but you learn that lesson in each and every failure. So time's going to pass either way. So you either try it and you miss your mark the first time, but you keep getting better and you keep learning little lessons until you get there.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a thing with social media. One negative side of it could be you're always looking at what other people put out there, what people are posting. It's kind of their highlight reel, is what I've heard. And, you can't always compare yourself to that because people are just putting out their best selves on social media. So we just have to remember.
Fake book?
Yeah,
Is that a Facebook?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, so you just have to, stay true to yourself and just think everyone's not what they portray themselves on social media. Obviously, everyone's going through their own struggles, so you just got to keep pushing through, keep believing in yourself.
I do sometimes share like things that are going wrong, especially as a mom. Like I feel like there's a lot of people out there that it's nice to hear that you're not alone. And even when I post it, just because I'm upset or I feel like I did something wrong, that I'll get responses from people like, "Oh, I've been there," and it does make me feel better that we are a united front and people are going through the same things that I'm going through. But yeah, I try not to show all the great stuff that goes on. Maybe that's not good to share.
I think that's either, I think that's like an upside to that. Downside is that when people are real on social media, you can connect with others. It makes you feel like maybe you're not alone in whatever you're going through because, you get the comments, you get messages and people who are feeling the same way. Or even if you just go on Facebook or Twitter and someone is complaining, or not complaining, but just venting about something that you have also experienced, then you can kind of either reach out or just feel like you guys are in it together almost.
Exactly. Okay, well, the boys haven't called in yet, so we must be doing okay.
Yeah, not fired yet.
Not yet.
But so I know in the Empowerment Perspective group, one of the things we like to, relate things to is education and empowerment through that. And I think social media, when it comes to education, there are upsides and downsides to the social media. For instance, I know, just a story. My dad is a retired principal now. He's an educational speaker, leadership is kind of his thing. And so I know he actually on Twitter, and I know now probably on Facebook too, there are different chats that, with a hashtag, and educators can get together and share their ideas and share what worked for them, what didn't. And it's almost like you can go to a conference without ever leaving your house. You can share ideas. And I think that is an upside when it comes to social media in education, is that teachers, administrators can all, even students can get together, share ideas, and kind of educate each other on different things.
Right, and not every school follows the same curriculum. So I think for a student-based aspect of it, they can meet up with kids in their own grade and maybe have alternate ways of doing things that, and I'm sure maybe kids aren't getting on social media to do homework, but in a perfect world, they may. But definitely for the teacher aspect, if you're having trouble with a student, that you can go to a forum and maybe get some advice and feedback on how you can better relate to that kid or things that have worked for other people, get you outside of what you know.
Yeah, and even so, my minor in college was journalism, and even we had whole classes that were focused on social media and the way that it, the way that it portrays news and the way that how to get information out there in a responsible way. And it kind of made me think about how to be more responsible on social media because, a downside when it comes to social media and education in schools is this whole cyberbullying thing that really has come out in recent years. It was an issue when I was still in high school, but even more so now, I know it is, with kids getting on social media, talking about other kids. So I think, children need to be educated on how to responsibly use social media.
Exactly. Like I said, we were talking before we came in, and my kids are mad because I have Instagram and Facebook, and they don't. They're going to be 13 in a few weeks, which is scary. And I felt guilty for a few minutes. I'm like, am I a hypocrite? Because I use it all the time. I'm on it, checking things out and stuff like that, and I'm not letting them have that opportunity. However, I have the privilege of driving a car because I'm old enough to do so, and because I'm not a danger to myself or anybody else that's out there. I mean, there are adults that sometimes misfire on social media and put something out there that they shouldn't, but we should know better. So I don't feel that guilty anymore, because when they're ready, they'll be ready, and I'll let them have the account. But right now, there's too much they don't know. Yeah,
exactly. And what they don't realize sometimes is, they think, I put a Snapchat, it'll be gone in a few seconds. Or
I don't get that one either. I'm not a Snapchatter.
Yeah, or I post this tweet, but no one's ever going to see it. But one thing that I've noticed recently is people can drudge up these old tweets from years ago or old Facebook posts, and it can jeopardize people's career. So
human resources are really good at getting the dirt that they need for their new hires.
So I think a lot of kids, or even people my age, don't realize that something you post, it can be there forever, whether you delete it or not.
Right. And a lot of posts, I think sometimes people are heated when they do it. Like, they don't take that extra second. If you wouldn't say this to somebody face to face, then maybe you shouldn't put it online in writing, so you can't deny it. It's out there. There's no denying what you said. So I think sometimes people need to take that anger and take a minute before they make those emotional posts, because you see something go up and then you're like, oh boy, and you go back later and they've taken it down. Yeah. They realize they made an error, but it's still out there. We saw it.
Yeah, who knows who screenshotted it or anything like that. We'll definitely get more into the petty side of social media a little later, filling in for Kareem, Mr. Petty. But that was some downsides, but we have to acknowledge there are a lot of upsides to social media. We'll hear later from Sarah about, how it helps spread the news, the real news, not the fake news, as they say, air quotes. And also, with everything going on in the world today, I think social media is a good catalyst to help people spread ideas of change, and brings people together in a way over issues that would usually tear people apart in society.
Yeah. And I think we just need to, I lost my train of thought there.
Like, even with the recent midterm elections, I think a lot of, not just celebrities, but everyday people got on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and reminding people to vote and how important it was. And I think it really helped people to get out there more.
Well, and the big controversy with the NFL and everything this year. The Players Coalition on Instagram, if you don't follow them, they're a really good group to follow. They were breaking down a lot of complicated words that were used in certain bills and with the election, and they broke it down so that people could understand it in layman's terms, and things that the politicians were making sound like a good thing that really, in hindsight, are not a good thing for certain people. So they definitely have a lot of voice in making change. So I think it's good that they're going out there and putting themselves out there to the community and telling them this is what needs to change. Like, did you know this is going on? Did you know this stat? Instead of hearing, sometimes I think we get the light version of the truth from politicians, like the 10% that they're allowed. And these guys are out there and they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're taking time to go into the courthouses and stuff like that and trying to make these changes. So there is a lot of positive things that can come from social media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even just connecting people who never would be able to even meet in person, whether it's connecting fans to a famous football player or a celebrity or a politician, and connecting people who want similar change in the world, or even with the recent wildfires, just connecting people to get help and to spread awareness for that.
Well, I think everything started for a good reason. Like, Facebook came out for a good reason, to connect people, but people are always going to find a way to manipulate it and turn it into something beneficial for themselves or to ruin for someone else. Like, we were talking about the GoFundMe that blew up, that they were all conspiring together to take advantage of people. And so GoFundMe started with a great cause behind it, but now it's kind of been manipulated, and is it a trustworthy thing? So I think we have to be really careful and make sure we're fact checking everything before we share anything. You don't want to be responsible for putting fake stuff out there about something, or sometimes people don't even look at the dates of things. Like, I'll see, and usually this is older people that use social media, they'll post an article for like a child that's been missing, and you go back and it's like from 2015.
Yeah,
stuff like that. Like, you definitely have to be paying attention to what you're sharing.
Yeah, exactly. Not only you have to be paying attention not only what you put out there, but also what you share. Even if you didn't write it, if you're spreading false information, that's how things blow up and things, go wrong, basically.
And I try to be careful what I share about my kids. Like, I feel like at some point they're going to have it, and it's not I post from my role as their mom. So things that I love that they do, or a picture or something like that. But at some point I have to remember it's their story as well. And there's certain things that maybe they don't want shared. Mm-hmm. And even though I feel like I have the right because I'm their mother to do it, I don't. There's certain things that they should be able to hold on to. And if they want to put it out there, they should do it. So it's a slippery slope for me.
I know it's hard. It's hard to figure out how much to keep private because you follow celebrities, it's almost like they put everything out there. So
it keeps them relevant.
Yeah, exactly. So that makes, I think a lot of people think, oh, I need to post every single thing I'm doing. Like, I think we've all fallen in that trap of, I got to post, I'm going here, now I'm going there, now I'm with these friends. And I think it does lead to people either feeling left out or feeling like they're lesser than other people. Or
my Instagram's open, so I have some of my kids' friends follow me, and I don't put anything up there that's going to be inappropriate or offensive or anything like that. But if you post a picture of them playing and they have a friend over, they've actually been like, oh, why wasn't I invited over? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that being an issue with it. I'm starting kid drama on Instagram.
I know. Yeah, it is it's a fine line of how much to share, how much not to share. So I think it's definitely interesting. But yeah, when we come back from the break, though, we're going to hear from Sarah Smith. So a little bit about that is, in my last semester of college, I interned at NBC 10 in Philadelphia news station, and I was on the digital team. So what that mostly meant was I helped out writing a lot of stories for the website, which was a really cool experience. But a big part of that was working with social media, because social media has become such a big part of every organization has a social media to stay relevant, every news station to share the stories that they do have on their website and to share their newscasts. So and they have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
They don't
everything.
Snapchat. They don't Snapchat the news.
Actually, well, there are. If you go on Snapchat, there's a whole section where you can follow news companies and get the latest news. So it's really, everything, every social media has kind of found a way to share news that's not just what your friends are doing, but what you need to know that's out there. So I think that's really interesting. And when I worked with social media, I got to do a lot of really cool things. When I was there, the Eagles were having their Super Bowl run. So we got to go out with this big fan bus and share pictures, and just kind of get people excited through social media. But so Sarah will definitely talk a lot more about that, but it's just basically to show that social media is so ingrained in society, nothing can really exist without being on social media, if that makes sense.
And that happens so fast. Isn't it scary to think how fast that went from, we just got our news from the TV, the newspaper, and now you get it from 17 different avenues. And it keeps all ages engaged, so there still is the actual news program. There is the newspaper for those that still get it. But now I think this gives younger people a chance to see what's going on. And now not all of it do you want thrown out there, but they can definitely see stuff with the election and stuff like that. They can follow different things. So I think it's good to get that knowledge in front of younger viewers that maybe wouldn't sit down and watch the news or read a newspaper.
Yeah, so many of my friends, if I were to ask them, where do you get your news? It's, I get it on Twitter, I get it on Facebook. So I think that says a lot about the kind of social media and where it's headed maybe and where it's come from,
Exactly.
So, yeah, we'll be hearing more from Sarah after the break and, be right back.
Hi, I'm Gary Monteroso, and I just love the sound of beer being poured into a glass. If you also enjoy a cold brew, then join Tara Nurin and me every week for What's on Tap. We'll bring you tasting reviews, some of the top personalities in the beverage world, and much more. Saturdays at 1 p.m. on 99.9 FM, 1240 a.m., and online at snjtoday.com.
Look and feel your best for life. Utopia Salon and Day Spa. Give the gift of Utopia with a gift card. Massage, facials, skincare, hair design, nails, and more. It's more than a gift. It's an experience to remember. Stop in or purchase your gift card online at utopiasalonspa.com or download our new app and purchase right from your phone. Look and feel your best for life. Utopia Salon and Day Spa.
When you think about the most important investment you can make in your child's future, it's not just a college or trust fund. It all starts with a smile. First impressions mean a lot, and when your teeth are aligned properly, your smile can speak volumes about you before you even say a word. Ten Brook Orthodontics specializes in bringing out the best smile in everyone and has treated over 20,000 cases worldwide with their patented T1 brace technology, invented by Harvard graduate and founder Dr. James Ten Brook. The T1 brace technology utilizes lower forces, which delivers less pain and results in faster tooth movement. This cuts the number of visits down to as little as 10, with the T1 brace patient in braces for only 12 to 18 months. Best of all, 10 Brook braces start at just $3,800, not the industry standard of $6,000. If you, a child, or a loved one have fangs, a crossbite, or crooked teeth, make an appointment today for a consultation with 10 Brook Orthodontics, with offices in Galloway, Northfield, and Marmora. Call 1-877-SMILE-10 or visit 10brookorthodontics.com.
Take the stress out of hiring a contractor by calling High Point Roofing on Route 40 in Woodstown. High Point Roofing is New Jersey's premier roofing, siding, windows, and gutters contractor. Their expert team respects your home and works together to ensure the job is done right the first time. High Point Roofing offers flexible payment plans to fit your monthly budget, along with an honest project price guaranteed to be competitive. So get your free estimate today. High Point Roofing. Outstanding workmanship, excellent service.
Hi, I'm Gary Monteroso, and I just love the sound of beer being poured into a glass. If you also enjoy a cold brew, then join Tara Nurin and me every week for What's on Tap. We'll bring you tasting reviews, some of the top personalities in the beverage world, and much more. Saturdays at 1 p.m. on 99.9 FM, 1240 a.m., and online at snjtoday.com.
Hello, welcome back to the Empowerment Perspective radio show. We're here now with Sarah Smith from NBC 10. She is on the digital team. She is the social media editor. And welcome, Sarah.
Hello.
Hey, thanks for being here. Yeah, thanks for being here today on this Saturday.
Sure.
So basically, can you tell us a little bit about what your role is? We're talking about social media today, so it's perfect that you could call in.
Sure, yeah. I mean, my role is to help with the strategy for our branded accounts across all of our social media platforms. And then I also work with, our reporters and anchors on helping them with strategy for their accounts.
Yeah, totally. So how did you actually end up getting into social media?
That's funny because, when I was a kid, there wasn't social media. So I'm somebody that, came into it, you couldn't go to school for it, you couldn't learn it in college, you didn't have it in college. I mean, MySpace was kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. But I, at my first position in social media, I was working as a producer for a TV station that was in Delaware. And, YouTube started being a thing and Facebook started being a thing, so we made a YouTube page for the show I worked on, and then we made a Facebook page for the show I worked on, and so that was I don't know, like 2000 and something, and so I started getting experience with social media then, and so I've had experience since then, and I worked for the American Red Cross and did a lot of social media for the Philadelphia chapter of the American Red Cross. So, I started doing that, and then here I am.
Yeah. So what is your kind of day-to-day, what does your day-to-day job kind of look like?
Oh, you kind of know a little bit about that, but, day-to-day, it could be different. Today we have a couple events going on for NBC 10. We have the Philadelphia Half Marathon that's happening in Philly, and so I'm working with some some reporters and photographers that are out shooting that so that I can use their content on our social platforms on a weekend from my house. And then, I sent out some folks to help with the expo that also is supporting the marathon. And they're also posting from the Expo Center. And then I'm also working with a partner at the National Dog Show that is happening this weekend.
Oh, I love that.
NBC 10, will air the whole thing on Thanksgiving, but the actual event is happening this weekend. Mm-hmm. So I'm working with them to make sure that we have some social presence on our accounts today. But on a day-to-day, we're posting all the news and important information on all of our accounts so that everybody can stay up to speed on what they need to know for big weather. We had big weather this week.
Yes.
For big stories. We had a big story with the Johnny Bobbitt GoFundMe case that needed to be on all of our social platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And then our investigative pieces. We're just supporting all of that across all of our platforms. But then we're also looking for stories. We find a lot of what I do is checking our instant messages or our direct messages on all of the different platforms to see if anybody sent us anything important, or going and looking for content on social myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I do a lot of that too.
Yeah, and you mentioned the GoFundMe story recently, so that kind of brings up how can you really tell if what you're sharing on social media is real, and are there any signs you can look for, or what do you think about that?
I think it's important to go with your trusted sources. I mean, in this case, these folks, it seems, from what the prosecutors are saying,
mm-hmm.
it seems as though they pulled a fast one on everyone.
Yeah.
So, you kind of, in that kind of sense, it's difficult because they're telling the story and it seems feasible and nobody's disputing it. And so it is what it is.
You want to hear those nice stories that people are doing these acts of kindness for people, and to be completely snowed everybody. It was a little bit of an upset that it's going to hurt people that are credibly trying to go and do things for people. Now everybody's going to be taking that step back and taking a second look before they're willing to help out.
Right, and I think that, probably at the time, it seems that, these folks, if this all shakes out to what the prosecutors are saying, that it just got a little bigger than I probably expected.
Mm-hmm.
But, that was a GoFundMe. I mean, as far as social media goes, we've been through a lot. Facebook, having issues with their credibility, and they have cracked down a lot on what, how they're allowing credible sources to post to their platform. And, this is even something that us in the local news and national news are dealing with to make sure that our content isn't filtered because we are credible sources.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, also, why would you say that social media is important to news? Like, what is the relationship there, in your opinion?
I think it's important that the news reach every person where they are. So if millennials and Gen Zers are on Instagram, then we need to be there so that we can reach them, because there's important information that they really should know about their local, communities. And, like when the snow hit, that it was really happening and that they needed to be safe and that the SEPTA lines were shut down. Like, we need to make sure that that's out on all of our platforms to make sure we're reaching as many people as possible with the important information that can keep them safe, that can keep them in the know about what's going on in their community. So that's what we try to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's definitely really important. I was just saying, if I asked a lot of my friends, where do you get your news? They might say Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, so I think it is important for the credible news stations to be on there where people, millennials and Gen Zers are getting their news today.
Yeah, definitely. And we find that we kind of, we have to present the news in maybe a little bit different way across different platforms so that we're reaching folks in the way that works best for them. So that's, something that I work with my team on doing on a day-to-day basis. When you put out a tweet, it's not going to be the same words that you would use on Facebook. You have a little bit more leniency on Facebook to use some more words, and And then on Instagram stories, you got 15, or you have a really short amount of time for them to read your story before it flips to the next one. And you're hoping that maybe they put their thumb down and hold it and read it a little bit longer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Instagram stories. Yeah, that was a big thing we worked on too when I was interning. Yeah, it was a lot of fun though. So just going off that, what do you think is the future of kind of social media, whether it's related to news or stuff like that?
I don't think anyone could predict where we would be today, whenever my career first started. And I'm not sure we can predict where we're going to be in 10 years from now. So I think it's so evolving, and so many different ways to get information into the hands of our users are coming down the pike. Are we, how are we going to make sure that they get it if they're, cutting the cord? And we're getting a lot of subscribers on some of the digital platforms, that have maybe cut the cord and they're using internet, subscribing on television. But as far as social media goes, we're just here to adapt. It's already adapted since I started. There was no Instagram. There was no Snapchat, so WhatsApp, all these things that didn't exist before are going to keep popping up, and new ways that people use their platforms, and we just have to keep adapting.
Yeah, I think that's really true. Even I work with kids, and they talk about this new app like TikTok. That's this new kind of social media. So it's like you never know what's going to pop up or what people are going to become interested in. And so I think that is really interesting. Like, there's no way to really predict that, I guess.
Yeah, and then you have to see, are people sick of one platform and they're going to abandon it? And then, kind of what happened with MySpace.
Yeah, everybody jumped ship on MySpace.
But then, a lot of the interns that are coming in have basically abandoned their Facebook pages. So, that generation I'm trying to reach elsewhere. So, yeah.
Yeah, and just an example, my sister, she is going to be entering college next year, but she basically did not even have a Facebook until she was going to start applying for colleges, because she felt like, oh, I better get a Facebook because I feel like that's how people kind of connect, but she never thought to have one before that. So I think it is interesting to see whether Facebook will fade out or if one other will take over. And so I think, there's no way to really know, I guess. But
yeah, it's all about what the user is going to do. And that's one amazing thing about social media, is that, users decide what platform to use, and users will guide the big companies as much as they can to evolve.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, did you have a favorite moment of social media from, recent times?
That Eagles parade had to be, like, if you were going out to the Eagles game, I have to think that was probably one of the big highlights, right?
Yes, I was telling about crazy. The Super Bowl.
Oh, man, the Super Bowl was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. But I will say that one thing about those humongous events, like the parade, is that you get jammed out and then you can't do anything. So, connectivity can be a major issue on a big event like that. But, what we have been able to do recently with the elections, we've really worked hard to find new ways to tell stories. And we had a really cool highlight, vertical video that we put across a bunch of platforms about all the women that were running for Pennsylvania in our area. And so we were able to highlight all of I think it's 5 women that were running from Pennsylvania, and then there was a couple in some other states, but we were able to highlight, their running, and how Pennsylvania had, 0 representation in our area for women, and how, no matter what happened, no matter who was elected, whichever party, we were definitely going to have another woman.
Yeah.
So, we did a lot of cool social media on that. Like I said, a vertical video that was kind of new to us, a new way to put that out there. We put it, on Facebook Watch and Instagram TV, and then we put it in our story. We kind of chopped it up. So, and then once we found out who won, we brought the women in and we met them all, and we did like a long Facebook Live with all of them to with Lauren Make, our reporter, and we were able to put that across all of our platforms. So, we were able to do a lot with the midterm elections and reach the new voters across different platforms that maybe we weren't able to do even for the last election.
Yeah, that's one thing I was just talking about was, I think, there are some downsides of social media, of course, but one of the big pros of it is the fact that it can, spread this information and get people involved and stuff, like with the midterm election recently. I know so many people were tweeting hashtags, were just inviting and encouraging others to get out there and vote, and I think that did have a big impact.
Yeah, and then, one other example that I think would be cool to mention is, if you haven't heard, NBC 10 and Telemundo moved to a new building, and we were able to kind of do a fun rollout with, ask us about our building or what do you want to know, and we've done some Instagram questions and had some fun with answering and engaging with our audience one-on-one, which is, I feel like is sort of like a new way that you can engage with your audience on social media, that one-on-one. If we do Facebook Live and they ask questions, we can answer them directly. If we do a Instagram question, we can one-on-one answer them. So it's been a lot of fun doing that kind of stuff.
That has to be pretty cool. Instead of it being a one-sided thing, like the news usually is one-sided, you're getting the perspective from the news company and a credible source. But to now have the people watching and reading being able to respond instantly back and have that almost like conversation with the news now has to be pretty neat.
Yeah, definitely. And it also shows us what resonates. If we do a poll on who's going to win the Eagles game or what you think the score is going to be, how's that number of people responding compare to us asking, something about a news story. So it's good feedback for us to know, that, okay, this works, this doesn't, and move forward.
Do you feel there's one platform right now that is more effective than the others? Or is it just based on like the age range and what people are, the new hip, whatever the younger kids are using?
Facebook right now still holds top tier as far as reach and, how many people see our stuff, and how you can interact with folks there. If they comment, we can comment back to them and they see it. Our referrals from Facebook are obviously going to be the highest just because it has the highest number and the highest, it also has the longest longevity. It's been there the longest. So, Facebook is still super important to a local news station, but I do spend a lot of my efforts looking at, how are these new platforms? I spend a lot of time on Instagram thinking about how I can do better on there for folks that are there and trying to reach a new audience. We have our Facebook audience that's pretty loyal to us, but we want we want new ones. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And so I just had one more kind of like fun question. So you told me about how you got into the kind of the business of social media, but how did you personally kind of get into social media? Like, what was your first foray into like a social media account or anything like that?
That's a good question. I was the dial-up generation. We had, AOL Instant Messenger, and I would say that's like the first.
That was the worst.
Hearing that, but
that was terrible. The worst. These kids nowadays, when the Wi-Fi goes out, they're like panic mode, and they never heard that annoying sound when the dial-up went and it was busy and you couldn't log on for like an hour. How frustrating that was! Oh my gosh!
And you had to have a second phone line if you wanted to be on
right.
on the computer and on your phone at the same time.
Oh
so yeah, and there were chat rooms that were so unsafe for
yes.
kids to be in, and yeah, so I feel like it was almost more unsafe then because, it's still, there's security issues, but you can filter much, much better now than you could back then. And it was just like wide open to the world on there at the time. So, wonderful AOL Instant Messenger that you've got mail generation, but I don't even know if that exists. I don't even know if that account still is there,
Yeah, I know. That's interesting to think about because, when I was first wanting to get into social media in like middle school, wasn't really allowed yet, but a lot of people did have the AIM or AOL, instant messaging still. So I think that was definitely still a big thing that I was, really salty that I couldn't have one, but
Trust me, it was better that you didn't have one.
It was. And that's the thing. People, like my parents' generation, they didn't understand any of it. So it came out. We just, kids like me, and I was maybe 13, 14. I'm like, oh, I want this. And I just did. I didn't ask. And there was no like, oh, we should probably watch what she's looking at on, on the internet,
I still feel like that goes on today. Like, I think the kids know more than we do as parents and adults. Like I said, I still haven't figured out Twitter, so that's my big, I guess I got to learn that one a little bit. But I do feel like people are allowing younger kids to have it without really, we go through the basics of what you're not supposed to do and what, what you need to look out for and what you need to come to us with if you see something. But I do think that they learn from their friends and things like that to how to get around certain things. And we are in the dark with some of it. So it is scary to let younger kids have social media when you're not sure yourself what they can get into.
Right. Yeah, no, I think it's really important for parents to pay attention to that. Facebook has a new-ish thing for kids where they can, you can kind of, as a parent, allow them to be on this messaging platform, and you control who they're allowed to talk to, and it's connected to your Facebook account. So, you're really able to, you can basically watch it from your own device and know what they're doing. And it's like a small foray into it for like a younger kid, 9, 10 years old, that want to talk to their friends and send stupid emojis back and forth. But I feel like it's almost a good thing. I mean, it's hard because, social media pays my bills, right? So letting, like, they know that's my job. So saying you can't have it, this is a nice little step for them to experiment in a safe place. And then as a parent, I can watch what they're doing and seeing how they're interacting with their friends to see, like, okay, is it safe to give them a little bit more leniency? Are they doing a good enough job of being safe on here to open up a little bit more?
Now, is that a setting? Is that a setting that you add through Facebook, or is that something you have to install, or how do you find that as a parent if you're interested in doing that?
It's like Facebook Kids Messenger. It's like its own app.
Okay.
That you can put on like their device, but then it's connected to your Facebook page or account.
Because I've seen texting apps that do that you can get your kids' texts that come through your phone. And
right, yeah.
I feel as a parent, I just got my boys like a real legit number on our plan, and I've told them from the beginning that I have your phones, I own your phones, we pay the bill. I can look at them whenever I want. And I know when a conversation's been deleted and chunks have been taken out. So I don't have that app on my phone because I don't want to be so intrusive in their life that I see like everything. And they're kids. I mean, they write some really goofy stuff sometimes. I'm just like, really? Like, this is what you're writing back and forth to your friends? But I don't want to see that 100% of their day in the conversation. But they've been very responsible in coming to me and saying, I don't know this number. I don't recognize this number. So there is the apps, though, too, that you can see the text messaging as well, which I guess that is for some people. But you have to really have those strong boundaries with your children, too, that if something is to come up, you need to come talk to us. And then we'll fix it together instead of trying to hide and delete.
Yeah, that's true. And to have that open conversation that could be uncomfortable for the parent, but is super important. I think we've even, Keith Jones has done some reporting on some of the, online gaming, like, even Minecraft or Musical.ly or whatever. And those apps are super popular with kids, but then they do have this, like, whole messaging side. And you, as a parent, have to decide, do I turn that off? Do I lock it out? Do I, how do you allow them to do the chat features? How do you not? You just have to keep your kids safe.
Yeah, so a lot of the predators are now coming through pretending to be these younger kids playing these video games. I heard that maybe Fortnite now has a problem where there's people coming in and approaching kids that shouldn't be there. So it is. I mean,
anywhere that there's kids, you're going to have that problem. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think that's interesting, that point that, wow, like, social media is getting so much more broad. It's kind of also getting a little safer. Like, that's something that people don't really think about, but there are ways to monitor, what kids are doing and even what you're doing, who's contacting you, which I think is a good thing overall.
Well, and I think that as parents, like my generation being parents and even, millennials that are now parents, they are starting to understand better what it's like. So they have a better understanding of, what I need to do as a parent. But, my parents still don't when they have no idea. So, but I feel like as more and more generations come and have kids, they are going to have a better understanding of what is okay and what's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So it does make you wonder, just looking back to even, when I was in middle school and in elementary school to now, when kids are in high school and middle school and elementary school, it makes you wonder, like, where is it going, kind of. So I think it'll be interesting to see for sure.
It seems like everything is becoming a social media platform at this point.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like gaming is, and, Xboxes are, and PS2s and 4s and whatever, and 5s, they all are. Any of the gaming systems become social media. I mean, really, it all is that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's super interesting. So you've given us, like, so much good information about social media, which has been great. Do you have any final kind of remark on social media? Anything you want to mention?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't ask all of you guys to go follow NBC Philadelphia on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and Telemundo62 on all of those platforms, so that you can even give us feedback on what we're doing. Mm-hmm. Let me know what you think. I'm the one that's deciding these. I'm the one working to decide what is going up on these platforms, so I'd love to hear from you guys.
All right, then I have a favor. Do not post that poll on the Eagles game this week. Don't put that one out there, because I'm afraid that too many people are going to pick the other side.
Well, whenever it's like that, we usually put up, what do you think the score will be?
Yeah. Oh, that might be a bad one, too, this week.
I know, a lot of bad
Go
feelings.
Eagles. Come on, Eagles. You can do it.
They need to do it.
Gotta keep the faith.
I better stop, because Demiso's a Cowboys fan, so he sent me my lovely text this week with a big Cowboys star on it. So I would love to see the Eagles take the Saints out this week, but I don't know.
That was a heartbreaker, that game.
That was bad.
Oh, yeah, that was hard to watch. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us here today on our radio show.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Yeah, so a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
So much that I didn't even think to mention, even especially, with parents and kids. And I don't know.
It's everything's accessible now, like instantly. Like, you don't have to wait for the news to come on. You can check the weather from your phone and see, like, a real time with the snow the other day. Like, we're so used to having it now at our fingertips. It is interesting to think about where it's going to go next. Like, how can it get any bigger than it is right now? But we probably felt that way when AOL started. Like, how can it get better than this? And now you have a computer in your pocket and you can get real-time news as it's coming in, and be able to have that communication back with the news station is pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. And even when you're talking about the Facebook Lives and, Instagram Lives, you can kind of be right there in the moment, sending questions and getting an answer right away. And whether it's news stations, even celebrities, like professional athletes, politicians, everyone kind of has the capacity to do that if they want to get directly in touch with, the common person.
Very cool. I think it's good. It also has its perks, and it does have a couple drawbacks. As long as you're just being safe and being smart about what you're posting, and remember that the internet is forever. Anything that you put out there, no matter when you delete it, it's already out there. Somebody's got a screenshot of it, and you're going to be hearing about it at some point.
Yeah, I know. Nothing's safe when it's out there. So yeah, just definitely make sure you're responsible posting, and even with sharing too. Just back to that GoFundMe incident in the news. You got to be careful.
They had the news snowed with that. I mean, they had because everybody wants to hear that feel-good story, that people are out there doing what's right and doing things for others. And in a world where we hear a lot of bad things happen daily, those stories, we gravitate to them, and we want to believe in them, and we want to feel like there is still hope and there's still good things going on. So people want to donate to that stuff. And the fact that it was unfortunate the way it's panning out or playing out now, it takes a little bit out of the way, which stinks, because this is a time of year where people want to do things for others, and we should be doing it all year. But now this comes out, and it is a little upsetting.
Yeah, reminds you got to be careful with what you see on social media. Not everything is what it seems, whether it's good or bad, for sure. So I want to do a little segment since Mr. Petty Kareem isn't here.
Yeah, we haven't been petty at all. Like, it's amazing. We're not petty. Adam, have we been petty at all? No, we're not petty enough. We need to step up our game now.
So one thing I was thinking about when I think of how can petty relate to social media, well, the question is about, I don't know if you heard of subtweeting. It's kind of when you post either whatever social media it's on, a status or a post about someone, but you don't mention them, but it's kind of negative. Like, I can't believe someone would do this, but you post it out there and it doesn't mention them, but it's kind of a little jab at them.
Yeah. And everybody either starts asking you, who
exactly.
Is it me? Is it me? They're a little nervous. And then there's certain people that know it's about them. And
yeah, so it's like, that's a petty way to use social media. So I have to ask, have you ever done that?
I'm sure I have. I try not to, though. I don't like those kind of posts, that innuendo that I'm talking about somebody. I feel like if I have something to say, I should call you up face to face and say, or call you out, but I won't call you out on Facebook. I don't use social media for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know. I try not to use, I can't say, maybe when I was younger.
I'll beat myself up. I will put stuff about myself, like I had a horrible mom moment and stuff like that, but I wouldn't like call somebody out.
Yeah, because that just starts up more problems, like going back to the cyberbullying in schools. Like, I feel like that's a big thing when people are talking about other people, but it's out there for everyone to see.
Well, and they leave out a name that everybody knows who they're talking about. So you can't say they're bullying my child if they're not naming them. But the kids know, and you got to shut off the notifications for those things, because sometimes it goes to a really nasty place. But yeah, I do think it's petty. If you're going to put that out there, throw them under the bus. Then go full throttle and do it. Don't sit there and hide behind your computer and say what you want to say, but then not call that person out. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's petty. Like, so I don't know, on Facebook you can see your memories, like what you posted. Like, I love them 5 years ago. I love them because a lot of more recent ones are good memories. But like going back like 7 or 8 years when I was in like middle school, even like early high school, just seeing some of the statuses I used to put, it's just funny to see, how people used to use social media. And it was a lot of kind of subtweets, whether it was just a lyric that was hinted at your crush or whatever it might be. It's just funny to see how it was used back then, and then to wonder, what will I be posting in 5 more years? Like, will this social media still be around, or what will be happening? That's a great point, because as you're posting now, and you do see some of them, and you will be like, why did I post that? Like, that you do have to take that awareness with you now. Like, if you're seeing it, and this is going to be continued. People in jobs are going to be looking for this. I've had students in school ask me, like, well, they'll never see my Facebook page or my Instagram page. And I'm like, really? Like, yeah, that's their job, is to find your name and find out everything you've ever done. And it can affect your jobs. It can affect your chance of getting hired over somebody else because of stuff that you've posted, and maybe things that you said that were not in a positive light. You have to be very careful of what you put out there. Definitely, about like the language you use, about everything. So, and also that brought me another thought, was just, dating in this era of social media. I'm out. I'm married. I'm good. But I feel, I know you're lucky. I don't know it's hard. Wait, I wouldn't go as far as lucky, but marriage is tough. Yeah. But dating has to be tougher in this generation. I know, because the swipe some way, right? Whether you swipe left if you like them, or swipe right. With like all the different dating apps that are out there. And even just, I feel like social media gives, people a kind of a medium to hide behind. So where someone wouldn't approach you in person, they might be sending you a weird message on like Facebook or Instagram or something. So I think it's just an interesting thought. Like, how do you, for someone in their 20s or even teens, like, how do you navigate that, or someone any age, I would like to think there's some happy endings in those scenarios where people have gotten together and made it work. But I do think you have to be extremely cautious with the dating online. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's very easy to hide behind the catfish stuff. The whole catfish. I know a few people that have gone out on dates, and the person walks in and they're like, oh my gosh, like it's not even your picture. It never was. But they had talked for months, and they had this really good conversations. Mm-hmm. And whether that's who the person really was through those conversations and just had that insecurity, at that point, I do feel like getting to know somebody on that level is better sometimes than knowing and going out first, because you might get hooked by the looks or turned off by the looks and miss somebody that's really great. Yeah. But to completely lie about who you are, like, I know, they're going to know when you walk in the door. Yeah, with all these, dating apps, which is now another form of social media. Like Sarah mentioned, everything's becoming social media. Even dating has its own social media. So I think it's interesting. It could, it helps you meet more people if you're kind of in a rut, but at the same time, you don't really know who you're meeting almost. You have to be extremely cautious. Yeah. Extremely cautious. So, we have 5. Yeah, so we're nearing the end of our show, but so we've definitely talked about a lot here, whether it's different social medias, how we got into them, how the news is spread through social media, dating on social media, being petty. So I think it's just a lot to take in, but
I don't know. Social media is almost just like a second, for me anyway, it's just kind of like second nature at this point to have it. Like, it wasn't always like that in my life, but it's interesting because now kids are growing up with, technology and social media as their kind of second nature go-to. Like, if they're in an awkward situation, I'll just check this. So it kind of, there are a lot of good positives, but also, negatives as well.
Well, and the fact that you have 500, 600,000 friends on Facebook, you have to make sure you have a few in real life as well. Like, not in real life. Like, they could be people that live around the corner from you, but you have to make sure that you do take yourself out of the social media world and go out and actually be social and hang out with your friends and have a small group. I mean, I'd rather have my 3 good friends than 1,000 friends on Facebook. I think these kids need to make sure they're getting outside because a lot of them do stick to the phone and they're looking at it all day and texting back and forth. The text messaging, I think they need to be more careful when they write because their writing is going, it's so bad. Like the shorthand and stuff like that. Like, I don't think kids can even write sometimes in full sentences.
I know because they're so used to just abbreviating and doing the little acronyms or whatever.
Right. And, you don't put an emoji in a book report. Like that kind of stuff. You got to pay attention. But definitely make sure you're going out and being social, not just on social media. You have to have that life outside of your living room and your phone. But I'm guilty. I'm on mine a lot, checking things out when I'm waiting for a minute.
Yeah, if you're in the waiting room or something, like forget the magazine. Now it's just, let me check an online magazine, like AKA like Instagram or Twitter.
Yeah. And I don't get a newspaper. I don't watch the news. I try to stay away from a lot of the negativity that's out there. And it still comes flying through. But I have the choice to not look at it. Or I'm not paying for it, which is nice, but I'm sure the news channel doesn't appreciate that. But I do read the headlines, and if it's something that interests me, I'll look into it a little further. I think it definitely lets you be more selective about what you're waiting for. Like, I know a lot of people will wait and watch the news for an hour just to hear the weather. Now you can go on your app and check the weather. You can go on NBC 10 and check their weather report as it is right now. So I think a lot of people like that instant, I can find out what's going on in sports. I can find out what's going on without having to watch the entire program.
Yeah, exactly. So switching gears a little, it is, the holiday season coming up. We do have an event coming up. We have a toy drive. You want to say a little about that? So
we are collecting unwrapped new toys that we will be taking to CHOP in Philadelphia. We need those probably by the end of the month because December 1st, we're going to hand them all off to Demiso, and he's going to take them up for us. We're also doing the turkeys for Thanksgiving. We have that taken care of. If you have any toys, you can reach out to me, Frankie, Kareem, Demiso on social media. If you have our text line, call us and we will give you a call. We'll arrange pickup and have that all taken care of. There's a lot of big things happening in 2019. We had our little sit down a few weeks ago. So there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up in the next year that I know the boys are really excited about. Hopefully they're not ready to smack us today that we did good because Demiso's texted me now. So I hope you're have your new pet with you in the car.
But yeah, so that's just another, social media. Get in contact with us via social media if you have any ideas for other things we can do. But also we can get in touch with you via social media about this toy drive, about other things coming up. So I think it is, an important way to connect with people and let them know what's going on.
It's an easy way to connect with people. So you can follow us on the Empowerment Perspective page. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're on all those ourselves. Definitely make sure you get in touch with one of us if you want to donate a toy. Unwrapped has to be unwrapped and it has to be new. Going to the hospital, we need to keep those germs away and give them the best clean toy we can give them. Because I have a ton in my basement that I could give away, but not to a hospital. They don't.
Yeah. So,
we got a thumbs up. Good job, guys. Thank you, Miso.
Yes. So remember to, be grateful during this holiday season, not just on an Instagram post like, oh, I'm thankful for this, but just, in real life too. Unplug sometimes.
Yeah. And
it is hard.
Take that minute to be grateful for what you have, everything that you do have.
Yeah. Like, trust me, I know I love social media, so I'm always on it, but I do try to be mindful. You're talking about mindfulness, try to be mindful of spending your time in real life social. So,
well, happy holidays.
Yes,
from the Empowerment
thank you for tuning in. Our girls only show today.
Yes, stay empowered.
Yep. See you next time.